Hey everyone, and welcome to a 10-minute workout designed to help you improve finger extension after stroke. Now, if you are someone without any movement at all or very little movement, this one may be too advanced for you. Recommend go checking out my mirror therapy video and mental practice videos. However, if you do have a little bit of movement to start with, let's go ahead and get into it. Our first exercise is going to be a bit of a warm-up. We're going to go into some finger extension stretches. So we're going to do this one by one, gently bringing the thumb out and back. And we're going to do this with each finger so that we are just holding that stretch for just a few seconds and then relaxing. Now, you may not be able to get your fingers completely stretched out. You may kind of have some curling happening at these knuckles right here, and that's okay. I just want you to try to get those fingers prepped and primed and ready to actively move a little bit. So that's why we're kind of starting with some of these nice little stretches. So we're just taking each finger, holding for a couple seconds as we get ready to move into our more active exercises. Now at the end, if you are able to get all of those fingers open together, you can end with this stretch here, holding all of those fingers out and open. Nice job. Let's move into our first exercise, which is active finger and thumb extension. So you can support at your forearm if you need to, and you're just going to try to bring those fingers out and back. Now I think this is the best position to start in, especially if you do have some curling of your fingers or limited wrist extension, bringing that wrist back. But you're gonna try to do your best. This is a good position to start. Now, if you're looking for more of a challenge and you are able to get those fingers flat, you can go into this position and try to lift those fingers and thumb off of the table with your hand flat. Regardless of which way you do it, you're just gonna try to get in many repetitions throughout that 60-second period. Let's go ahead and move into our first strengthening exercise, which we're gonna be using a hair tie for. Now you can use a hair tie, a rubber band, whatever you have laying around the house, and you're gonna put that around all of your fingers. And in this position, you're gonna try to push them all back and bring them forward. Now, if you have more movement, you can try, as you can see, to spread your fingers apart as you push them back. If you don't, and your fingers stay kind of curled up, that's okay. Everyone is starting at a different place, and if that's where you're starting, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, if you need to make this a little easier, using a rubber band or a hair tie that is not quite so tight is going to give you less resistance. Using one that is tighter is going to give you more resistance. So let's take off the band. We're moving into the next one, which is going to be finger strengthening using a book. So for this one, you're going to try to get your hand as flat as you can, and your fingers may stay curled under, and that's okay. We're just starting here. So you're gonna put that book over top of your fingers, kind of support it with your other hand, and you are gonna try to push those fingers back and up, back and up, back and up, and you're trying to lift that book off of the table. Now, to make this a little more challenging, if you have more movement, you're gonna try to straighten those fingers out and get them flat. And you're gonna try to lift up the book that way, really focusing on bringing all of those fingers up at the same time. You are doing wonderful. Let's move into the last exercise we have here, which is this same exercise, but focused on your thumb. Now, it's gonna be easier if you can get into that side position with your thumb pointed up. So whether or not your fingers are curling or you can get them out a little straighter, you're gonna put that book on top of your thumb, supporting with your other hand and gently trying to lift up, bringing your thumb out and back, and then back down. And you're just holding that book because otherwise it would likely kind of fall off as you try to do this. If your hand stays kind of curled up, that's okay. We're trying to focus on those extensor muscles, strengthen those extensor muscles so that we can work on getting those fingers a little straighter. Now, if you can, try to focus on keeping them straight as you lift. I encourage you to do that. Okay, folks, we are back at our first exercise. We're going back into those stretches. Now, depending on where you're at, if you want to go back through and isolate each finger and hold, that's totally fine. If you want to do a stretch where you're stretching out all of your fingers at one time and you have the movement for that, you can do that as well. Meet yourself where you are and with what feels most comfortable. The one thing I don't want you doing is trying to crank back those fingers and wrists, which can sometimes happen if you're pushing a little too hard. This is meant to be just a very gentle stretch and trying to support your affected hand with your unaffected hand as you stretch out. Very nice. Okay, we're moving back into active finger and thumb extension. Now I'm going to show you the more challenging way this time. So hand is going to try to go flat as you can. If your fingers are curled up, don't worry about it. You're going to try to bring those fingers back as far as you can. Part of this workout is not just about movement and strengthening, but also improving coordination of those fingers. The ability to start that movement. If you can get them flatter, you can do it that way. We're just trying to get some of that movement really activated so that you can get better control over this movement. Very nice. Okay, and we are going back into our first strengthening exercise, which is using the rubber band to strengthen those extensors. So you're gonna put the hair tie or the rubber band around all of your fingers and your thumb. If you need to support here at your forearm, you can do that. And you're gonna try to push those fingers out and back as far as you can. You're doing fantastic. Keep it going. This is a really tough one. The last three exercises, all the strengthening exercises, are pretty challenging. But you got this. You've hung on this long. Keep it going with me. As I mentioned before, if it's too hard with the rubber band or the hair tie you have now, look for a looser one. Get something with a little less resistance. And if you need more of a challenge, I want you to really focus on pushing those fingers out as far, as wide as you can. Okay, moving on to our book strengthening exercise. So you're gonna try to get your hand flat here, or if your fingers are curled, that's fine. You're gonna put a book over top of those fingers and try to lift them up and off of the surface. Now you'll notice I'm using a heavier book this time. This is gonna give you more of a challenge. Now don't go run out and get a Britannica encyclopedia, for those of you who are familiar with those. We don't wanna cause an injury, so don't go full force with a book that weighs, 10 pounds, because that's not gonna be good. But you can progressively work your way up to books that are a little bit more challenging and a little heavier over time. All right, let's move into our last exercise, thumb extension strengthening with the book. So I'm turning so that my thumb is pointed towards the ceiling. I'm supporting the book with the unaffected hand so it doesn't go flip-flopping all over the place. And then I'm trying to lift that thumb up and back as much as I can. And something important to note here is when you're lowering your thumb, that first one I just kind of flopped it down, I want you to really focus on controlling that movement down. We get just as much benefit moving up as we do moving down. Our muscles are getting worked out in a different way with each direction. So you're trying to push that thumb up and back as far as you can. You're doing great. Remember, this is our last exercise, so hang with me. Let's do one more. Whew. Nice work, everyone. I know that this one was a pretty tough workout, but I am so proud of you for hanging until the end. So that is it for today. As always, I am gonna leave a link down in the description below if you'd like to sign up for the email list, which gets you free stroke recovery tips and motivational emails, as well as a free copy of my ebook, The Stroke Recovery Pocket Guide. And as always, if you find value in what we do and you are able, please consider donating to Post Stroke, either via our PayPal for a one-time donation or by becoming a Patreon member, where in exchange for a monthly donation, you get access to a lot of cool perks like social media shout-outs, behind-the-scenes videos, and even YouTube shout-outs. So I do have a YouTube shout out for Doug C today. He is our contributor at our Empowerer level. Thank you so much, Doug C. We appreciate you and can't do what we do without you. All right, everyone, that's it for today, and I will see you next time.